You won't believe what happened when I finally decided to cut off Karen's free water. Yeah, the same Karen from the HOA who thinks she owns the whole neighborhood and calls 911 over the smallest things. This time, things took a wild turn. She actually lost it when I pulled out a USB right in front of her. I mean, who does that? It all started when she kept taking water from the community tap without permission, like it was hers. I tried to be patient, but enough was enough. So, I took action. What I didn't expect was her reaction. She stormed over, furious, and before I knew it, she was dialing 911, ready to make a scene. But then, I did something she totally didn't see coming. I pulled out this little USB device, and everything changed. Suddenly, her anger turned into confusion and shock. What was on that USB? Why did it stop her in her tracks? You're about to find out. But trust me, this isn't just another HOA drama. It's about standing up, surprising the unexpected, and yeah, maybe getting a little revenge. Stick around because what happened next blew my mind, and hers too. This story's far from over, and you don't want to miss how it all unfolds. Ready? Let's dive in. So here's the backstory you need to know. Karen isn't just any HOA resident. She's the kind of person who takes control way too seriously. She's been using the community water supply for months, filling up her big tanks without paying or even asking. A lot of neighbors complained, but no one wanted to deal with her because, well, she's the kind of person who makes your life difficult if you cross her. I decided it was time to put an end to it. Cutting off her free water wasn't just about saving resources, it was about fairness for everyone else who follows the rules. Now, when I shut off the water, Karen flipped. She came storming to me, red-faced and yelling, threatening to call the cops. And that's when she did. But here's the twist. While she was dialing 911, I calmly pulled out this USB drive from my pocket. I could see the confusion on her face. That little device held something that could change everything. Maybe it was proof, or some kind of evidence that she didn't expect me to have. But what exactly? That's the mystery. Karen's reaction was priceless. She froze, almost like she was caught off guard. This wasn't just about water anymore. It was about secrets, power, and who really has the upper hand in our neighborhood. And trust me, this is just the beginning. The next part of this story, it's going to blow your mind. What made this whole situation even crazier is that Karen wasn't just upset about the water. She was worried about what was on that USB. You see, I didn't pull it out by accident. I've been gathering evidence for a while, recording her unauthorized water use and other shady moves she'd made in the neighborhood. Some neighbors had confided in me, tired of living under her constant control and threats. They wanted someone to finally stand up to her, but no one dared until now. The tension between us wasn't just about water anymore. It became a battle over control, respect, and the truth. Karen's power in the HOA had always been a problem, but now there was real proof that she'd been bending the rules. The USB was like a game changer, and I think she knew it. Meanwhile, other neighbors started watching from the sidelines. Some supported me quietly, hoping this would finally bring some fairness. Others stayed loyal to Karen, fearing what would happen if she lost control. The community was split, and the atmosphere felt charged with unspoken arguments and secrets. As Karen stood there frozen, I knew this was just the beginning of a bigger conflict. There were still so many questions. What exactly was on that USB? How would she react next? And what would this mean for the neighborhood? The drama wasn't over, and things were about to get a whole lot more intense. By this point, the entire neighborhood seemed to be holding its breath. Word spread fast. Karen calling 911 over water was one thing, but the USB added a whole new layer nobody expected. I could see the fear flicker in her eyes, like she realized the game was changing, and she might not be the one calling the shots anymore. For weeks, she had acted untouchable, but now her carefully built control was cracking right in front of me. The air between us was thick with tension. Karen was trying to stay calm, but I knew she was running through her options, scrambling to figure out how to turn this around. I kept the USB tucked in my hand, the key to everything. It wasn't just about proving she took free water. It was about exposing the bigger picture of what she'd been hiding, and that scared her more than anything else. Neighbors started gathering, some whispering, others openly watching, waiting to see what would happen next. I could feel their eyes on me and Karen like we were characters in some kind of showdown. The atmosphere was electric, charged with a mix of fear, curiosity, and anticipation. Karen's grip on the situation was slipping, and I was ready to push just a little further. Just as she took a step forward, ready to make her move, I paused. The moment was hanging by a thread. What would she do next? Would she back down or fight back? And what secrets would the USB finally reveal that could change everything forever? The clock was ticking, and no one knew what was coming. But one thing was certain: this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Just when I thought things couldn't get any crazier, Karen suddenly pulled out her phone and hit record. That's right, she started filming me right in the middle of all this. At first, I thought she was trying to turn the tables, maybe make me look like the bad guy. But then she dropped a bombshell I never saw coming. She claimed she had a secret recording of her own, something she said would prove *I* was the one causing trouble in the neighborhood. That flipped the whole situation upside down. Suddenly, it wasn't just about her taking free water or me cutting it off anymore. Now, there was a new battle brewing, and it was personal. Both of us had dirt on each other, and this wasn't just an HOA squabble anymore. It was turning into a full-on war of secrets, recordings, and accusations. The community watched in silence, the tension thicker than ever. I felt the pressure, knowing that whatever was on her recording could change everything. Was she bluffing? Or did she have something truly damaging? The stakes just went through the roof, and the balance of power was shifting fast. Everyone waiting to see which secret would come out next, and who would come out on top. One thing's clear: this story isn't just about free water or HOA drama anymore. It's about who controls the truth, and neither of us was willing to back down. What happened next? Well, that's something you'll want to see. Just as Karen finished her claim about having her own secret recording, I knew it was time to stop playing around. I calmly plugged the USB into my laptop right there, in front of everyone. The screen lit up, showing video clips and documents, proof of her unauthorized water use, threatening messages she'd sent to neighbors, and even recordings of her trying to manipulate HOA meetings. The crowd gasped. Karen's face drained of color. Her confident act started to crumble. But then came the twist. As I scrolled through the files, one video caught everyone's attention. It wasn't about water or HOA drama. It was a recording of Karen confessing, off the record, that she'd been covering up something much bigger. The real reason she hoarded the water was because of a serious plumbing issue in a house she never reported. Instead of fixing it properly, she took advantage of the community's supply to hide the problem. That explained everything: the desperation, the secrecy, even the threats. Karen's control over the neighborhood shattered that day. The HOA had no choice but to step in, not just to fix her plumbing, but to address how she'd abused her power. As the neighbors watched, she finally had to face the consequences of her actions. Just when it seemed like the story had wrapped up, I noticed something odd. Hidden deep inside the USB was one last file, encrypted and unopened. I hesitated, knowing this might change everything again. What could be inside? The real truth? Or something even more shocking? That, my friends, is a story for another time. After seeing that last encrypted file, I decided it was best to let things settle before digging deeper. Sometimes, some truths take time to uncover, and this neighborhood drama had already shaken things up enough. What mattered most was that Karen could no longer misuse the community's resources or bully neighbors into silence. The HOA stepped in to fix the plumbing issues she'd hidden and put clear rules in place to prevent anyone else from taking water without permission. For once, fairness won. Looking back, this whole experience showed me how important it is to speak up, gather the facts, and stay calm, even when things get heated. Sometimes, a simple USB can change the game, but it's the courage behind the actions that really matters. Thanks for following this crazy HOA story with me. If you've ever dealt with neighborhood drama or felt powerless, remember, standing up for what's right can make all the difference. Stay tuned for more stories like this. The neighbors began to breathe easier. Some even thanked me for standing up when no one else would. It wasn't about causing trouble, it was about making sure everyone was treated equally and that rules were respected.